So we finally made it to All-Star Weekend. Those last couple weeks were an absolute slog trying to keep up with basketball. You know, the trades were more so the story, and we got to see a couple new look teams. And what better time than right now to talk about the biggest storylines the rest of the way? And I'm not sure if I'm gonna title this video the biggest storylines or the biggest X factors. They're kind of one and the same, but I'll do my best to differentiate as we go through. But if we are talking about the biggest story and the biggest X factor, we might as well start with the best team in the NBA, at least according to net rating, which is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the return of Chet Holmgren. And I feel like we all could have expected him to look rusty coming back. He has looked rusty. I don't really worry about him being a rim deterrent. He's one of the best rim protectors in the NBA. But I look at him as, obviously J-Dub has been more proven as a go-to scorer, but they need that extra release valve on offense. When you see the Thunder look bad, it's because they can't score the ball. And not only is he probably their second best shooter after Isaiah Joe, maybe you guys want to give that to Lou Dort. Maybe I just got to adjust and look at Lou Dort as a sniper now, but in my mind, Chet is probably their second best shooter. Not only is he that, he's one of the only guys on the team that you feel good about him making a decision. And if he can't attack closeouts the same way as before, if he can't get to his mid-range game the way he was doing before, I do think that lowers the ceiling of this team, because they're gonna go through these dry spells on offense when the threes aren't falling for a Lou Dort or an Aaron Wiggins or even a J-Dub, right? These aren't the greatest shooters in the world, at least they haven't been. So they need that other player that can really stop the bleeding, and I feel like Chet is pretty underrated at that. I think about the recent game against the Warriors where they couldn't score at all. If Chet was in that game and he has Moses Moody on him or he has Andrew Wiggins on him, he has the size to get an easy turnaround 15-footer, or he even has the handle to get to the rim in those situations. And when you look at the rest of their team, besides Shea and J-Dub, they don't really have that element. So it's really not even the defensive end of the court where I feel like Chet's the X factor. It's more so, can he be that other offensive release valve for Shea and J-Dub? And I'm not trying to sit here and discredit what OKC has done. I think they're a very good team, obviously. I think they should be the favorite. I just don't view them as this invincible team that a lot of people seem to view them as. But if Chet gets back to making shots like this, and by the way, Chet is not great at this yet either, right? Yet. We hope he's gonna get there. But if OKC doesn't win it all, I would guess it's because they didn't have enough shot creation. So can Chet do a reasonable job of adding that third element of shot creation to this team? Moving on, a name we haven't heard recently because he's been hurt, but to me, he's a big X factor for this year and maybe more importantly going forward, and that is Jonathan Kuminga. If you look at the Warriors right now, what are they missing besides size, obviously, but what are they missing? They're missing perimeter defense, right? That attack dog on the perimeter. GP2 can only play so many minutes, so they're missing that. They traded Wiggins. Jimmy Butler has been good on defense, but Jimmy Butler at this point in his career is more of a help defender, more of a team defender than that attack defender like a prime Klay Thompson was. So they're missing that, and they're also missing finishing at the rim. Now, we know Kuminga does that part well. We don't know about the other part. There's ups and downs with him on defense. He's not a very good team defender so far in his career, but he might be very good if you just give him that role of just sicking him on somebody. All your responsibility on defense is guard this man. If Kuminga comes back and looks like he looked before he got injured, he looks like a budding all-star maybe, or maybe not even that, just looks like a very good NBA player, looks like a starter on a very good team, then this Warriors team becomes a lot more dangerous, right? If you've been watching the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, you're seeing how much Steph Curry and Draymond Green are like forcing him the ball in finishing situations. Like they haven't had a player that can finish at the rim or, you know, cut at the right time or whatever. So they're just spamming him with these terrible passes. But another thing that's been happening, and this is again probably more of a conversation for beyond this year, is Draymond Green has been forced into more of a scorer role. If you look at the shots, it's not like he's taking that many more shots with Jimmy Butler, but he's getting to the line more because Jimmy Butler in large part is playing that Draymond Green role. And I talked about this as soon as the deal happened, that it kind of would make more sense for Kuminga to be in the starting lineup than Draymond Green, unless Draymond's going to start at the 5, which he has been the last couple games. But we're seeing Jimmy Butler in all the Draymond actions. And on the opposite side of that is Draymond Green, being forced to be in a finisher role. And to his credit, he's doing that a little bit more. He's getting to the line more. But that would just make so much more sense for that to be Kuminga in that role, giving Jimmy Butler a real finisher, giving Steph Curry a real finisher. When you have Jimmy Butler, a better creator, a better decision maker in large part, less turnovers with Jimmy Butler, more easier decisions if I'm going to shoot this or I'm going to pass it. Where Draymond Green is probably going to force some tough passes, probably going to turn it over, right? Jimmy Butler has been playing the Draymond Green role better than Draymond Green, and Draymond has been forced more into a scorer role. So I wonder how that's going to be when Kuminga comes back. Because we all know Kuminga's up for a big deal this summer. He's going to be a restricted free agent. And are the Warriors really looking to pay Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green? To me, I feel like Draymond might be out the door if he can't play 5 full time, which I don't think he can at this point. So it might make more sense to go get a real starting 5. Let Jimmy Butler play the Draymond role. Let Kuminga run crazy as the off-ball scorer. I don't know. I think that's very fascinating, and I think that is a big part of the rest of this year. What happens with Kuminga? What does he look like? Is he more off-ball? He was playing more on-ball before Jimmy Butler got here. What does that look like? Because it seems like once again they're going to ask Kuminga to be a different player. After being told not to shoot, I feel like now they're going to kind of want him to take those corner threes. So we'll see what happens with that team. But if Kuminga looks like a budding all-star with Jimmy Butler, with Steph Curry, that might change a lot for this upcoming playoff run. But also, I think Draymond might be out the door. I really think that's a possibility, but we'll see what happens there. Let's keep it moving. Next up, we're going to go to Minnesota and talk about a player that I don't like this player. I don't like this player because I see what he's capable of on some nights, but majority of nights you're going to end up disappointed. And I'm talking about Jaden McDaniels, who's been amazing lately. And no, I don't believe it's a coincidence that it's happened a lot with Julius Randle out the game, because he's a natural 4 in my opinion. Naz Reid is also a natural 4 in my opinion. And those guys have been able to play the 4 more with Julius Randle out, and those guys have been amazing lately. So while everybody was blaming Julius Randle early in the season, which was fair, he hasn't had an amazing season for sure. He's not a better player than Cat. He's never been a better player than Cat. So that, conversation is kind of irrelevant to me. To me, the bigger problem with this team had been Jaden McDaniels. They were projecting him to be a player that he has not shown himself to be until recently. And it's still not like they are running through the NBA, but in the month of February, where they have played in 8 games, he is averaging 17 points and nearly 8 boards a game. And the 8 boards honestly might be the most impressive part of it. And he's also averaging 3 assists, which for him is a big number. So as you probably can tell by the tone in my voice, this is not something I'm expecting. It's not something I would rely on going forward, but it does make them a completely different team. I remember earlier this year, I was absolutely astonished at the fact that Jaden McDaniels got his first ever double-double this year. I mean, we're talking about a guy that has been playing starter minutes pretty much since a rookie. This is now, year 5 for Jaden McDaniels? But he went from 0 in his career to 5 double-doubles this year. And I would say since a very, very, very slow start this season, he's been more active all over the board. Career high in steals, career high in boards, almost a career high in assists. He's been a solid NBA wing. He's still not shooting well from 3. He's still not shooting a ton of threes, but this version of Jaden McDaniels is one that the Timberwolves can live with. It's still not the one they want. It's still not the star level player that they might have been projecting him as, but it makes them a much, much better team. I'm not sure what that ceiling is, but this version of Jaden McDaniels gives them a chance against other teams that I wouldn't otherwise feel like they have a chance against. And to me, at least, it also gives them a more clear vision of who he is as a player, and they need another playmaker in that lineup. They need someone else that can get him easier looks and not depend on him to go get himself buckets, because he can't do that at a clip you would want. He could do it sometimes, and it looks amazing sometimes. Other times, it looks like he just learned how to play basketball. So I'm not depending on this, but this recent play, if he continues this into the playoffs, I don't want to say I like their chances, but they become a very, very dangerous team if he can get you 17 points and 9 boards a game. We seen what happened last year in the playoffs. A big part of their run was he was knocking down his threes, and then he just stopped knocking down his threes. So We'll see what happens. Jaden McDaniels has turned it around so far, or lately. We'll see if that continues. I wouldn't bet on it though. That's just me. And you guys notice how everyone so far has been in the Western Conference, because the East is boring. The East is vanilla. Everyone kind of knows what's going on in the East. The West is all jumbled up besides OKC. So I'm going to cheat a bit in the East. I'm not going to bring up Philadelphia. I think it's over. I don't even think they're an X factor anymore. I think that's over. I'm going to bunch a few guys together, and I'm going to put Cade, I'm going to put Paolo, I'm going to put Trae Young, and I'm even going to put Tyrese Halliburton. And Tyrese is kind of cheating considering he's already at the 4 seed and they made the conference finals last year. But the overall reason why I'm grouping them all together is, can one of these young stars upset the party? We've already seen what Trae Young can do in a playoff setting. He can win you games by himself in the playoffs. I don't really have faith in the rest of this roster right now, considering no Jalen Johnson. So at the same time, I'm not going to sleep on Trae Young in that type of setting. Paolo, we kind of seen what he could do last year as well. They've been on the free fall, really. They are maybe the worst three-point shooting team in NBA history. Can Paolo recapture his form? But even if he does, will they have enough shooting, enough offense to actually go upset someone? I'm not sure. I wouldn't believe in that right now, although they looked very good to begin the year. So I don't know, right? Maybe we see like a superstar performance from Paolo and Franz, who's really been playing like a superstar as well. But to me, the more intriguing one, the more, I don't want to say realistic, because like Trae Young and Paolo are more proven as playoff players, but Cade is the unknown. And if the season ended right now, they would be the 6th seed. They would be playing the New York Knicks in the first round. Am I going to sit here and lie to you guys and act like I would pick Detroit at this moment? No, I would not. But I do believe we don't know. I do believe Cade might be a superstar player in the making. And could he be the best player on the court in a series featuring Jalen Brunson and Cat? Yes, he could. And we don't even know if that's going to be the matchup, right? They could fall back into the play-in, although I don't think that's going to happen. They are 3 games above Orlando, but they are only 1 game behind Milwaukee for the 5 seed. And then all of a sudden you got Detroit, Indiana Pacer first round, or maybe the Pacers. Like it's all up in the air right now. But the idea of Cade entering into this orbit of stars in the East I think is very much needed. Even though like these are new situations, like New York is relatively new, Indiana is new, Cleveland is new, really. It just feels like there needs to be another element in this conference. There needs to be another star, and quite frankly, there needs to be a superstar, because I love Tatum, right? People don't view him as one of those ones. And I think he is. I think he really is, but he doesn't have that perception of him. And then with the Celtics, it's already stale, right? I don't really care in that aspect of it. I think the Celtics are probably like the best thing going in the NBA in terms of having that solidified, turn on your TV, you know who that is, right? The NBA doesn't really have that. With all the player movement, I think the Celtics being the same team, having Tatum and Brown together for nearly 10 years at this point, is actually very important to the product of the NBA. But even a team like Cleveland, we think, Mobley's going to be a superstar one day. He's not there quite yet. And maybe this playoff run is his moment. But guys like Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, even Jalen Brunson, great players, star players, but they don't have that, idea of, oh, this guy might be one of the best in the NBA one day. Like, they don't really project that the same way Shea does, the same way Jokic did a few years ago, the same way Giannis did a few years ago, the same way Anthony Edwards did last year. And obviously all these guys can't end up being the best player in the NBA, but that level of stardom and newness and hope is very important. I think if Cade were to come into New York and upset them in the first round, or even upset Milwaukee or Indiana in the first round, I think that would be a huge, huge story for the NBA, that they have another star going forward. Because in the East right now, like I just went through, Tatum's a star, but there's a weird, perception to Tatum. Brunson's a star, but people put a ceiling on Brunson. I think if Cade at this age, being the former #1 overall pick, it would provide a lot of hype for the NBA. And I guess the same thing would apply with Tyrese Halliburton. We kind of seen that run last year, and maybe if he doesn't get hurt against Boston, that's a different series. We've seen how close that series actually was. Maybe Tyrese can recapture that hype as well. His season hasn't really had that. He's been kind of quiet this season. Didn't even make an all-star team, but maybe he can redeem himself when we get to playoff time. All right, now we're gonna go rapid fire. I did not expect this to be a 20-minute video. As you guys noticed, all Western Conference really. The East is really Boston, Cleveland, and New York, and Milwaukee, can someone else come into that party? But the West is all up in the air. So we're gonna go to Memphis real quick. I wanna talk about GG Jackson because before the year started, I felt like he was gonna be the main X factor for this team before the injury even happened, and then he gets hurt. And as the Grizzlies always do, they had people step up. Jalen Wells, Jay Huff, they didn't miss a beat, right? Even with Vince Williams missing time as well. But GG Jackson last year was a revelation of sorts. He was a real shooter on a team that has shooters for sure, but they don't really have real snipers besides Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard, and I guess we can call Jay Huff a real sniper as well, but he's not going to play too many minutes. And you don't want to put Luke Kennard on the court too much for defensive purposes. So having that other real wing size, really a power forward size guy in GG Jackson at 6'9", to go with Santi Aldama, to go with a J Huff, to go with Jaren Jackson, the spacing on that court for John Morant to get to the rim, it just becomes a different animal when you don't have to sacrifice defense at all to have that out there. To me, when you look at playing a team like OKC or playing a team like Houston or even a team like Minnesota and having GG Jackson out there instead of Luke Kennard, that's a big deal. That's a big deal defensively. And if he's going to shoot the ball like he did last year, it's a viable option. He's only played in 12 games. He's not shooting the ball well, but he's shooting the ball a lot. Per 36, he's taking 8.5 threes per game. Hopefully those start actually falling. Next up, we just talked about Houston. Let's go back to Houston and Jalen Green, who's having an interesting year, shooting the best he's ever shot from three, still only 35%. You know, at the beginning of his career, I thought Jalen Green was going to be an absolute sniper. He hasn't been that. He's having his worst assist to turnover ratio season, which is interesting because it seems like they have more help around him now, but he's turning the ball over more. So I don't understand that part. But it's very simple with this team. It's very simple why I'm saying Jalen Green. If he can be a reliable 23, 24 points a game efficiently, this team becomes a completely different team. This year alone, the Rockets are 8-0 in games that Jalen Green scores at least 30 points. But I don't think it's actually just the amount of points, because if you look at those games, in those 8 games, he's shooting 52% from three. He's shooting 56% from the field. No one's expecting him to do that, right? But can he score efficiently on a team that needs his offense? Also, in those 8 games, he's averaging 7 free throws per game. So Jalen Green, to me, is a big wild card this playoff run. He might have a breakout moment or he might look terrible. Other ones, I don't feel like I have to even really mention Jamal Murray. If Jamal Murray is going to play like this, the Nuggets are absolutely a title contender. If he's going to play like Jamal Murray from the beginning of the year, they're not a contender. It's really that simple, so I don't feel like I have to delve into that. If this is the Jamal Murray we're going to get, the Nuggets should be the clear second favorite out of the Western Conference. It's that simple, really. And then the last one, a clear X factor, a guy that's always an X factor because we never really know what's going on with him. But it has to be Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi coming back has been, you know, I don't want to say chilling. Kawhi's trying, right? Kawhi looks decent. He doesn't look like prime Kawhi. There's flashes of it. But it's hard to tell with Kawhi, is he really going all in? Usually when Kawhi comes back from an injury, Kawhi is back, because Kawhi doesn't come back if he's not ready to come back. Like if he's not 100, he doesn't come back. And, you know, I guess that's cool, right? But the Clippers have not been playing well. I think this All-Star break is going to be good for them. You know, James Harden and Kawhi Leonard get a reset button. And do we see like actual all-in Kawhi Leonard when we come back from the break? Is he playing more minutes? Is he trying harder? Does he look like he's ready to go for a playoff run? Or do we still see Kawhi kind of, you know, trying to gather himself, gather his legs, right? I don't know, but I'm not going to count out a healthy Kawhi Leonard and James Harden going into the playoffs. But we'll see. I think that's where we're going to call the video. I'm sure I could have found like some more in the Eastern Conference. I just think we know exactly what's there in the East. I don't think we're going to see much surprises. I don't think many role players can change the outcome of what's going to happen in the East. I think we know exactly what needs to happen for certain teams to win. I'm not going to tell you, Mikal Bridges is an X factor. Like if Mikal Bridges plays well, yeah. If Mikal Bridges becomes a real 22-point per game scorer in a series against Boston, they have a better chance. Yeah, I feel like that's obvious, right? I guess I can say Mitchell Robinson, right? He's supposed to be back soon. So, yeah, that's a big X factor for sure. But I kind of just want to wait and see that one. Other than that, like, what am I getting? Kyle Kuzma? Like, we know exactly what we're getting in the Eastern Conference. So, let me know what I missed. Let me know what you think is the biggest storyline or X factor going into the playoffs. Let me know in the comments down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.